Namaste, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Welcome to episode 7 of Exploring Sanatana Dharma series, an initiative brought to you by Aham Brahmasmi Foundation, a unit of Dakshinamnaya Sri Sharda Peetham, Sringeri. We continue our series with our very distinguished speaker, a young yet highly knowledgeable scholar, Vidwan Sri Shatavadhani Lalitaditya Gannavaram ji. I welcome you, Lalitaditya ji. Thanks for being here. In today's session, we'll discuss about the laws of karma as prescribed in our Sanatana Dharma. So, Lalitaditya ji, what is karma? What does the word karma actually mean? And what are the components of karma?
So first, offering my namaskaras to the Pada Padmas of the Abhay Jagat Gurus. The word karma is obviously one that is very important in our dharma. We see it a lot, we hear it a lot, we use it a lot. The word karma is used in many different ways. It is not like there is only one definition. Just as the word dharma, for example, it's used in a variety of modes. In the same way, the word karma is also used in many different senses. The one that is most commonly used in our shastras is to mean an act, a kriya. The word karma and kriya, these two words are synonyms. It is also used to mean the fruit of an action. That is to say, the karma phala, what we would usually say the karma phala is, it is sometimes used to refer to that as well. In a grammatical sense, the karma is actually the object of a sentence. So, kartur ipsitadamang karma, that is a Panini Sutra for the karma karaka. So, I saw a tree. In this sentence, the tree is the karma. It is the object of the action of seeing. So, these are the usual ways that karma is used in, but we most often see it to mean an act. When we say like nitya karma or naimika karma or some pitra karma or deva karma or something like that, we mean it to mean an action, an act. Which is why we say like karma marga, like the path of action, as opposed to jnana marga, the path of knowledge. Then the components of karma. So the components of karma, we can take it twofold. There is the environment that the karma is, that an action is done in, and the actual instruments of action. So the external components of an action for us are divided into desha, kala, vastu. So these are called parichedas. So divisive factors that dictate what the environment of an action is. So what place is it being done in? What is the time it is being done in? And what is the material? What are the padarthas, the objects used in doing it? For example, for certain danas, there is a place to be done on a river bank, let us say. A time to do it. There are some things that should be done in a punya kala or a parva kala or something like that. And then what should be given? Sometimes they say tiladana, sometimes they'll say annadana, sometimes jaladana, so suvarnadana. So the object will also change sometimes. So these are the external parts of the karma. The internal parts are divided fivefold. So Bhagavan says this in the Gita, adhishthanam tatha karta karanancha prithagvidham vividhascha prithak cheshtaha daivanchaivatra panchamam shariravaangmanobhiryat karma prarabhate naraha nyayam va viparitam va panchayate tasya hetavaha. So whatever anyone seeks to do, yat karma prarabhate, whatever karma, Bhagavan has also used that word here, whatever action that anyone wants to do, for that panchayate tasya hetavaha, there are all of these five things are causes, or all the causes can be separated into these five categories. The first is the adhishthanam, that is to say the vessel of action, which is the body. Tatha karta, the doer, which Bhagavad Pada glosses in the Bhashya as the bhokta. So the bhokta is the, it is the jiva, but we say it is a jiva, it is actually the buddhi. So that is the the one who incites the action and who then experiences the fruits of the action later. So that is the adhishtanta karta. Karanancha prathagvidham. The indriyas, which Bhagavad Pada says are 12-fold. So the 5 karmendriyas, the 5 jnanendriyas, and the manas and the buddhi. So these 12 are the karanas, the instruments of action. Karanancha prathagvidham, that to the variegated instruments of action. Vividhascha prathak cheshtaha, the actual entity that allows us to act, which in our dharma we call the vayus. So the pancha vayus inside the body, along with the 5 upavayus. So the 5 vayus are famous, the prana, apana, vyana, udana, samana. Besides that, we have the naga, kurma, krikara, devadatta, dhananjaya. These are called the 5 upavayus. So if you see what these are supposed to do, some are vayus that move up, some are vayus that move down, Some are vayus that move within the body. Some are vayus that are meant to help food digest. Some vayus are meant or are supposed to be the cause of vomiting, blinking, these kinds of things. So it is only one vayu. Vayu is one, but based on the function that the vayu carries out, the vayu is given a different name. So what we mean by vayu here is not just air. It is closer to what we would call prana shakti. So that life force that allows the body to work. So that is the fourth thing. And then the last thing is daivam. So usually the word daivam means fate, which I'm sure you will have some questions pertaining to that later on, because we're discussing karma. But here the word daivam means the adhisthana devatas of the indriyas. So the adhisthana devata of the chakshur indriya is Surya. The adhisthana devata of the pada indriya is Vishnu. So in this way, there is a different devata that presides over each indriya. The devata is the chaitanya shakti that allows that indriya to be functional. When we say that someone does not have an indriya, someone cannot see, although they have the physical appendage, Shastra describes it as the devata there is not present, or that devata is not, maybe it is present there, but the devata is not giving its anugraha to that indriya for it to work properly. That causes some lopas or some deficiencies in the way that the senses operate. So the chaitanya shakti that allows the indriyas to work is the fifth aspect. So you have the body, the mind, the indriyas, then the life force that allows the indriyas to work, and then the devata shakti, the devata shakti that allows the indriya to work. So when all five of these are there, one will be able to do anything. If any one of these is not there, action becomes impossible. So in a very dry, worldly sense, this is what goes into an action: the external components of the environment, and then the actual doer of the action.
Okay. So that brings to the next question. Why do we need to do karma? And what are the different types of karma that are prescribed in our Sanatana Dharma?
So the need for karma is simple. Okay, first I think we'll start with the different types of karma, and then we'll come to why we need karma. So karma is fivefold in our shastras: nitya, naimittika, kamya, prāyaścitta, and nishiddha. So of these, three are optimal, one is okay, one you should not do. So the nishiddha karmas are things that are totally prohibited: murder, stealing, lying, such things. If you do any of these prohibited actions, which we would call a sin, if you do any of these actions, you have, for some actions there are some expiatory rites that you can do, which we call prāyaścitta, karmas to atone for a sin that has been committed. Then besides these two, you have the three that you are supposed to be doing, or two that you are supposed to do, one that you can do. Nitya naimittika you are supposed to do, kamya you can do. So the nitya karmas are the karmas that you have to do. You do not have a choice in them. They must be done daily. Naimittika karmas, the name itself will tell you that the word nimitta. The word nimitta means a cause. They are actions done only when there is a cause for them. For example, a child is born. The parents then have to do the jata karma. You don't have to do jata karma for a child every day. When the child is born, then you have to do jata karma, namakarana, etc. Or when there is an eclipse, there are some things that you have to do then. So you don't do those things every day. It is only when the occasion of an eclipse comes. So these naimittika karmas are karmas that you have to do on a particular occasion, but you must do them on a particular occasion. They're like an intermittent nitya karma almost, kind of. So nitya karmas are things like sandhya vandana, brahma yajna, which you have to do, that they must be done daily. Naimittika karmas are things like these things that you do during the samskaras. For example, samskaras are naimittikas. Then things that you do during eclipses or in society, these kinds of things are naimittika. Then kamya karmas are things that you can do, you cannot do. It is, if you, they are things that you do with a desire. If you want something, you can do it. So for example, it's not raining, you want it to rain. There is an ishti in the shastra called karyari ishti. So you do that, you will get rain. So you don't have to do this particular karma, but if you want its fruit, you can do it. It is not mandated the way sandhya vandana is. So those are kamya karmas. Then this prāyaścitta is there. The word prāyaścitta itself means to expiate for something. So those are done when there is a pāpa. If there is a pāpa that has been committed and you want to atone for it, not everyone wants to atone for whatever they have done. So those who want to atone for what they have done will do a prāyaścitta karma. Those are also, they are variegated. And then the nishiddha, of course, we discussed. Those are things that you should avoid at all costs. They are prohibited. The phala we can maybe discuss later, but in a general sense, these are the five types of karma.
Okay. So I think why do we need to do karma?
So why we need to do this is, I guess, I mean, it is kind of there. You should not do nishiddha. Prāyaścitta you should only do if you do nishiddha. Prāyaścitta is meant to mitigate the effects of sin. So that's why you should do Prāyaścitta. Nitya and Naimittika you should do because you get a pratyavaya if you don't. There are two types of sins. One is called a pratyavaya, the other is a general pāpa. So papas are things that you get for doing something that you should not. Pratyavaya is the name for the ill effects obtained by not doing something that you should. So if you are supposed to do something every day and you don't do it, there is an ill effect associated with it. Forget about in a spiritual sense, in a laukika way also, you are supposed to brush your teeth every day. If you don't, there is a horrible effect associated with that. So it's kind of in that sense that if there is something that you're supposed to do and you don't do it, there is an ill effect associated with that for not doing your duty. So that is why you should do Nitya and Naimittika. The Mimamsakas say that there is no phala at all for Nitya and Naimittika. The fruit of Nitya karmas and Naimittika karmas is that you don't get pratyavaya. But the Vedanta Shastra says that there is a phala for Nitya and Naimittika karmas, not a very massive phala, but there is some shreyas that will come about it. For example, Sandhyavandana is Nitya. In that, additional Gayatri Japa is obviously going to be more meritorious in that sense. And of course, in Vedanta Shastra, these Nitya and Naimittika karmas have a very great benefit because they cause the reduction of Pāpa samskaras, of our impure tendencies, the impure tendencies of the mind, and they bring about Chitta Shuddhi, purity of the mind, which then which is mandated, which is a prerequisite for getting Jnana. So which is why we have Nitya Naimittikairev Kurvano Duritakshayam. With the Nityas and Naimittikas, you seek to reduce the Durita karma, the papas that you have. And when we say papas, we don't mean the actual sin, we mean the sinful tendencies of the mind. So, Nitya karma, the karmas that are mandated are done for the sake of purity of the mind. The Prāyaścitta karmas are done to atone for the papas that we may have done. And the kamya karmas are done obviously for whatever desire you have in mind. If you want something, you do that karma for the sake of attaining that. You want a child, there are some rites that you have to do for that. You want to get some wealth, you will do something. We very commonly, whenever there is some shubha karya, we will do a Satyanarayana Vrata. So a Satyanarayana Vrata is, for example, not mandated. It is not it is not enjoined in the Shastra that after Vivaha you must do a Satyanarayana Vrata or something like that, or after Uprayana or after Graha Pravesha you must do Satyanarayana Vrata. This is not a mandate in the Shastra. So these are not things that Shastra enjoins on us. It is not Nitya or Naimittika. But we do it because there are some benefits associated with that particular Vrata that we wish to enjoy on such occasions. So that is a Kamya Karma which we do when we want something. Under the Naimittika Karmas come also our Parvadinas. For example, Navaratri, Ramanavami, Shivaratri, these are all Naimittika karmas in the sense that there are mandates, there are vidhis that we have to follow on those days. For example, on Shivaratri, Shivaratro Jagriyat, that is a statement of Shastra. You must do Jagaran Shivaratri. So, not every night has to be Shivaratri, but on Shivaratri, you should stay awake the entire night. Something on Ekadashi, there is a debate in Shastra about whether Ekadashi is Nitya or Naimittika. Because you are supposed to fast every Ekadashi. But Ekadashi does not occur every day. So is it a Nitya or a Naimittika? There is a debate there. Ekadashi can also be followed in a Kamya way, in the sense that if you have some desire in mind, you can do Ekadashi for that desire. So then it acts as a Kamya karma. If you do Ekadashi just out of a sense of duty because Shastra has said it, then it acts as a Nitya karma. So there are also some karmas that kind of straddle one or two types of categories. So these are so sometimes some karmas might straddle two of these definitions. We see today that a lot of people ask, why should we do these karmas at all? Like, okay, some punya, some papa is there. We do not see those at all. So, what is the point of doing all of these karmas? And especially now that Vedanta has become more of a fashion rather than an actual practice. We were like, it's all about jnana and understanding and feeling. You don't actually have to do anything. That is, we see this popular sentiment expressed in many places. The reality of the fact is that though there is no one who can exist without doing any karma. And Bhagavan says in Gita, Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatutishtatya karma krita. No one can stay even for a second without doing something or not. He will say, I'm not doing anything, I'm just sitting. Sitting is also a karma. Karyate hyavashah karma. He is impelled to do karma just by the fact that, by the prakriti jair gunehi, by the force of his nature. By the fact that he exists and he is a samsari still, he cannot exist without doing karma. So when you are acting, it is you have to act properly. We are not, if unless you are a sannyasi, you have to act. There is karma that is enjoined on you. So when you act, and honestly, even sannyasis have certain actions that are enjoined on them. They have to do the ranhika, they have to do the pranava japa, all of the danda namaskar, all of these are things that sannyasis also have to do. But they have given up karma in general. So the fact remains that if you are doing something, you have to do it properly. So because no one can exist without doing karma, you must do karma in the proper way. We do not know what the proper way is, because these are not laukika things, these are not worldly things wherein you can say that if you do this, this happens, if you do this, this happens. Which is why we have to turn to Shastra to tell us what to do, how to do. So we have three things in Shastra that describe this. Kim bhavayet, kena bhavayet, katham bhavayet. So what is it that you are trying to do? First you have to know that. Then what are the steps of doing that? Then what are the specifics of doing that? So for example, just general statement says Jyotishtoma Swargam Bhavayet. Do the Jyotishtoma Yaga, you will get Swarga. So what do I do for Swarga? The Jyotishtoma. How do I do the Jyotishtoma? There will be some Anga Yagas or some Angas of that karma. Then what do I do there? There also you have to know this Devata, this Havis, or this Dravya or something. So all three of these when combined have to become the totality of how you actually know how to do the karma or what to do. So this is a very big example. It can be even as simple as cooking. If you are making some simple kura, some sabzi or palya or something, you say, what do you want to make? Okay, I want to make this particular palya. What do you need for that? Okay, you need this vegetable, that vegetable, this tadka, that tadka thing. Then okay, so how do I do it? You cut it up, you put the oil, you put the tadka first, then you. So if anything that you do, you need these three things. The thing remains though is for these Vaidika karmas and Shruti and Smriti, these two give us what karmas we are supposed to do. There are some in the Puranas as well. So these things, for example, how to do Ganapati Puja. No one can sit here without reading a book and just know how to do Ganapati Puja, for example. So for these things that we don't know how to do, it is Shastra that tells us what to do, how to do, and the specifics of what you do. So it is because we don't have any other ways of knowing it that we have to know it through Shastra alone. And therefore we have to follow Shastra because there is no other way that we can apply our mind to find these things out. So when we say why should we do karma, it is because you can't not do karma. So you have to do it properly. How do you know how to do it properly? Because Shastra has told us how to do it. So you follow that.
Right. So you said the ill effects of bad karma can be removed by Prāyaścitta, by doing Prāyaścitta. So how exactly do you do Prāyaścitta? What is the proper method of doing Prāyaścitta?
There are many vicharas within when to do it, how to do it. First of all, when does it apply? Can you just do whatever you want and then do a Prāyaścitta? Can you rob a bank and do Prāyaścitta? Can you just want only perform all kinds of misdeeds and then do Prāyaścitta? Shastra leans one way. So in Manu, we see that akamatah krite pape prayashchittam na kamatah. So Prāyaścitta applies when you do a mistake without wanting to. It does na kamatah. It does not apply when you commit a misdeed with intent. I think for in the current penal code also, for it to be counted as different degrees of murder, you have to be able to prove intent. It is kind of like that, wherein like premeditated murder versus something like there are some differences in the penal code also. So in the same way, Prāyaścitta applies when you do something by mistake. It is not intentional, but something has happened. How do you atone for that? So this, forget about our laukika karmas in terms of eating, sleeping, drinking, walking, all of this. In yagas also, like this sampradaya comes from yagas, such as if you are doing a yaga, by mistake the fire goes out. What do? There is obviously some expiatory right to do that. It does not mean that if you can like put out the fire and then just redo this Prāyaścitta. So, but there are things wherein things don't always go the way we want. So, we have some fail safes for what to do if they don't go right. That is a Prāyaścitta. But that very shloka of Manu, having said this statement that Prāyaścitta applies when there is no intent to do a misdeed, but a misdeed has been done, it does not apply when a misdeed is done with intent. The second half of the shloka is Syat Vakarma Krite Yattu Dvigunam Buddhi Purvake. The Prāyaścitta for a misdeed committed with intent is double that of the Prāyaścitta of something done without intent. So then it seems as though there is a Prāyaścitta. So there is a, it is then we should understand it to be that Prāyaścitta is intended for mistakes that are done without intent. But even if you do a mistake with intent, but you later repent, there is still some mitigation that can be done. So what Prāyaścitta actually does is, if you look at what the word Prāyaścitta means, it will tell us what it does not obviously remove the Pāpa completely. Generally speaking, it is not like a get out of jail free kind of card. So prayah papamiti proktam chittam tasya vishodhanam. So the word praya means the manas. Chitta means shodhana, to clean. So the word prayaschitta means to clean the mind. So it is not that you are getting rid of the dukkha that you will experience because of an ill action. It means that you are clearing your mind of. So now we are talking about when it is done with intent. If it is done without intent, it is not for clearing the mind. It is solely to mitigate the effects of. So what happens when you don't do something, or when something happens in a karma? A karma has to be done exactly as told, right? We say anga vaikalya means a lopa in any of its supporting elements. So everything that we talked about in the beginning, the desha, kala, vastu, then the body, the mind, the indriyas, the buddhi, all of these go into karma. All of these must be exactly as is prescribed. So if you're supposed to be in madi, you're supposed to be in madi. If it's supposed to be a particular time, it is supposed to be in that time. If it is supposed to be a particular object, it is supposed to be that object. If it is supposed to be in a particular place, it is. So if any of this is out of place, that karma is not complete, which means that there will be some lopa in what that karma generates. It is to make up for that Prāyaścitta is done when there is no intent. So we are now putting that aside. We are now discussing Prāyaścitta for the sake of atoning for a sinful act that has been committed on purpose. Or see, not all sinful acts are some great heinous murders. It could be something that we get lazy, we do something in that Tenika anger, or in that knee-jerk reaction, we may do something, or you just see something, you like it, without thinking you do something. All of this is still quote-unquote sin with intent, or although it may not be like some brahmahatya, surapana, it is not that big a deal, but it is still sin that you can still atone for, kind of thing. So so we are discussing that situation. So in that case, what the Prāyaścitta does is, it cleans your mind. There is one more definition of the word Prāyaścitta that tells us how it does it. So this definition of Prāyaścitta tells us what it is supposed to do, the cleaning of the mind. There is one more definition that tells us how it does it. There it tells us that Prāyastapa iti proktam chittam tasya tu nishchayah tapo nishchaya sanyogat Prāyaśchittam vidurbudhaah. So the word prayaha means tapas. The word chittam here means a nishchaya. So because you are deciding to do tapas, it is a nishchaya to do tapas, it is called Prāyaścitta. So Prāyaścitta then entails that you have committed a sin with the appendages of the body and the mind. Tapas is austerity, which basically means relegating the body and the mind, limiting the body and the mind, suppressing the body and the mind. That is all the forms of tapas we have are of that nature only. So what this Prāyaśchitta does is, through the suppression of the body and the mind, it then quells the improper tendencies within the mind, and then allows it such that those tendencies that caused us to commit the papa in the first case do not repeat later. That is the ideal goal. Shoshanena sharirasya tapasadhyanena cha papakrin muchyate papat danena cha damena cha. This is all the different types of ways that tapas takes place. So papakrin muchyate papat, the person who does the papa is freed from the ill effects of papa. What are all the ways that this happens? Shoshanena sharirasya, through upavasas. So literally burning the body. Right? So when you do upavasas, you don't have food, it generates some papa in the body. And then tapasa, so these are actual austerities. Then adhyanena cha, the parayana of certain mantras, the japa of certain mantras and the such things, certain parayanas and all. Then danena cha, there are some danas that you can do. Damena cha, restraints, giving up certain pleasures. For example, sleeping on the ground. Or some people do this thing where they'll say, I will not eat honey or something like that. I will not eat this thing for a while. So such things. This is all dhamma. Giving up certain enjoyments of the indriyas. So all of this combined ends up going into Prāyaśchitta. Then Prāyaśchitta also changes depending on the individual. वर्षाण्यश अशीति यस्य वर्षाणि बालो वा प्यूनषोडशः प्रायश्चित्तार्थमर्हन्ति स्त्रियो रोगिण एव च. So those people above the age of 80, yasya varsh asheti yasya varshani, someone who is above 80 and above 80 plus, and balo va unashodashah, a child who is under the age of 16. So in our dharma shastra, you become a major, you are a minor until 16. From 16 onwards, 14 or 16 depending on where you see, after that you are responsible for your own actions. The idea is that because until then they do not have a proper understanding of the world, it is the parents, the guru, the guardians who are responsible for him. After he becomes aware, then he is liable for his own actions. So it is not like if he is 13 years old and he knows what is going on, he can do whatever he wants and his parents will experience that. That is not the intent. The intent is that before he realizes the implications of his actions, for example, a 6-year-old does not know what he is doing. He will step on ants and insects, and he doesn't know that he is killing a living being. So it is the parents that have to tell him, you should not do that. That is also some jiva with some life in it. So then if he then continues to do that, it becomes the burden of the parents. It becomes the dosha of the parents, that they have not trained him or they have not guided him properly. So until he comes of age, in the sense that he understands his actions and the implications, and he can take responsibility, someone until that age. So above 80 and under 16. Besides that, stris and rogis, people who are either physically or mentally unwell. For all of these people, the prayaschitta is said to be half. So whatever the usual prayaschitta is, the prayaschitta for this is said to be half. So uh, so depending on the person also, the nature of the prayaschitta changes in this way. The best way to do prayaschitta is to not do it by not doing any papas. These prayashchittas, as I said, these are all, if you end up doing them in some uh, um, frenzy, in some kshanika udvega, which is why Bhagavan tells us in Gita, Shaknoti haiva yassodhum prak sharira vimokshanat kamakrodhodbhavam vegam sayuktas sasukhi naraha. So before he leaves off the body, while he is still with the body and the mind, yaha kamakrodhodbhavam vegam sodhum shaknoti. So there is a vega, there is a force that is associated with desire and anger. In anger, you just act, you don't think. Same thing comes with desire. Sometimes you want something, you just act, you don't think. Someone who can withstand the force of that, the impelling nature of the kama and krodha, he is someone who will be happy. Sa yukta sa sukhi naraha. So the best thing to do, the best way to avoid papa is to train ourselves, to train our mind to just withstand the knee-jerk responses or the instantaneous responses, the unthought responses of our desires and our anger. If we do that, then papa will not be there. No papa, no prayaschitta. But obviously, we are human, we do err. So best to also have a backup, which is why Shastras have very kindly given us prayaschitta as well.
That's a real detailed explanation. We see that Prāyaścitta is just a backup, as you said, and not really the go-to solution for all the...
So that is why we have one more shloka in Shastra. Kritva papam hi santapya tasmat papat pramuchyate. Naiva kuryam punarite nivritya puyate naraha. So this prayaschitta has two sides to it. The first part is having kritva papam, having done the papa, santapya. You have to first feel bad that kimaham sadhuna karavam, kimaham papam karavam iti. This comes in Upanishad also. Have I done something right or have I done something wrong? If you have done something wrong, you should first have that remorse that you have done something wrong that you should not have done. So kritva papam hi santapya tasmat papat pramuchyate. So some part of the ill effects will be mitigated by the remorse. But if you want to become pure of mind again, then naiva kuryam punariti. You iti nivritya. You should then decide that, okay, I will never do this again. And it should be a very firm resolve. Naiva kuryam punariti nivritya puyate naraha. So first, having gotten the santapa, part of the effect is mitigated. Having then decided that he will never do it again, then he is released. So it is a threefold thing. You should feel bad, do the prayaschitta, and have a resolve that you will never do it again. Only if this triad is there will the prayaschitta actually mitigate the papa karma. So that is also told in Shastra.
Right. So the 3 points to it is very important. The remorse, the firm resolve that, of course, the Prāyaścitta karma, and the firm resolve that you will never repeat it, come what may.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you spoke about the fruits of action. So how do we classify karma phalas?
So we can classify it two ways. You can classify it based on the flavor or on the account that it goes into.
Okay.
So the type of phalas we get are obviously three. Bhagavan says in Gita, Anishtam, Ishtam, Mishrancha, Trividham Karmana Phalam. Karma phalas are three ways: those that we like, those that we don't like, and those that we have mixed feelings about. So Bhagavad Gita writes in the Bhashya, the ones that we don't like are the fruits that lead us to naraka, pure suffering, those kinds of things. The ones that we like are the things that will take us to Swarga, the bhogas of Swarga, or pure pleasure. Usually most of what we do will end up being mixed. It will give us some sukha and some dukkha, because we will do some of it correctly, some of it improperly, or we'll do some good things, some bad things. So just based on the phala, you can split Pāpa, the karma phalas into threefold. But the usual definition that is told in Vedanta is, of course, the sanchita, prarabdha, and agami. So these are divided based on kind of when you accrue them. So sanchita is the sum total of karma that you have accumulated over all the dozens and hundreds and thousands of janmas that we have had. The total account of all the punyas and papas that we have ever done is called sanchita. So from that, we take a birth because we have a karmic balance to restore in the universe, or because you have a karmic debt to settle. You take a body to experience that karma. Because you have karma phalas to be experienced, you become embodied. So then we experience our prarabdha. So the karma that is taken out of the sanchita to be experienced by this body is called prarabdha. So that prarabdha, it's like an allowance. So you have a bank account. The child has to go for some excursion. So out of your bank account, you will give him some 100 rupees, 500 rupees. So that 500 rupees is meant for this excursion. He will get no more and no less. So in the same way, the prarabdha karma that this body is meant to experience, this body will not fall until all of the prarabdha is experienced. And after the prarabdha is experienced, this body will not last even if we want it to. So it is the exact amount of karma that this body has been taken in order to experience. So that is prarabdha. Agami is when due to the prarabdha we take upon a body and we do certain things. That karma goes into our bank account, goes into the account of karma. So the karma whose phalas are yet to be who's not yet to be yet to be generated and accrued is called agami. So these are the three types of karma phalas that we have.
Okay. So is there a way you can do karma without yielding its effect, without yielding the karma phala?
So if we don't want a karma to yield a phala, Bhagavan tells in the second half of that very shloka, Anishtam Ishtam Mishrancha Trividham Karmanah Phalam Bhavat Yatyaginam Pretya. These karma phalas will be there for atyagis, not to sannyasinam kvachita. So yastu karma phalatyagi satyagi ityabhidhiyate. He who renounces the fruits of his actions, he will not be touched obviously by the sorrow or the pleasure or the mix of those, which is the fruit of the action. That aside, we experience the karma phalas because we have the feeling of doership. It is the abhimana that ties us to our karma phala. Because we feel I have done it, we end up that you have to experience. So the law is that kartritva and bhoktritva have to have samanadhikaranya. Wherever kartritva lies, there bhoktritva has to lie. Wherever doership lies, there only the enjoyment of the fruit should also be. Which is why it is not that what do you say, like I do a karma and my neighbor experiences the phala. Whoever has done it will experience it. So whoever has done it is whoever feels that he has done it. The sense that I have done this is what will experience the fruit of that karma. So that is why Bhagavan says in Gita in another place, Yasya nahankrito bhavo buddhiryasya nalipyate hatvapi sa iman lokan nahanti nanibadhyate. Yasya nahankrito bhavaha. Yasya, Bhagavad wrote, Shastracharya Upadesha Samskrita Manasaha. Someone whose mind is purified and clear due to having studied the Shastras well and due to having listened well to the Guru, having studied well from the Guru, having gotten proper Upadesha from the Guru. Yasya bhavaha na ahankritaha. He does not feel doership. Instead, he feels that, because Bhagavan is continuing from the 5 aspects of karma that he told before, the adhishthana, karta, karanante prathaksam, vidasha pratyaksheshta, daivam. So he feels that this person knows that it is the body, the mind, the indriyas, the prana shakti, and the abhimani devatas of the indriyas that are actually acting. It is not my true self, the Atma, who is acting. I am the Atma, I am not the body, the mind, the indriyas. So it is not me who is acting, the indriyas are acting. He says elsewhere, right? Indriyan indriyartheshu vartante. The indriyas are just going wherever. The indriyas, see, the eye will see certain things, the ear will hear certain things. The indriyas are doing their job. I am not seeing, I am not hearing, because the eye is not, that eye entity is not the indriyas, but it is instead the Atma. So he not only knows that, but he feels it. His sense of identity is not present in the body and the mind the way it is for the usual person. So if he hatva is the piece of iman lokan, he can kill any number of people he wants. Na hanti, he is not actually killing them. Na nibadhyate, he is not tied by the fruit of that action. We say then this is a very nice thing to do, right? If we get atma jnana, then you can do whatever you want. In a sense, yes, because once you have gotten jnana, then there is no more vidhi nishedha, because you have transcended the limitations and the injunctions that apply for the body. So all the vidhis and the nishedhas of Shastra apply to the body and the mind. Right? When we say do something muddy is for the body, it is not for the Atma. When we say don't think of anything else, do something with focus, that applies to the mind. When we say don't look at anything else, that applies to the indriyas. So in this way, all the vidhis and nishedhas apply to the body, mind, and senses. Body and the indriyas. It does not apply to the Atma. So someone who knows that he is Atma knows that it is not he who is acting, it is the body that is being made to do something. So he knows that he does not have agency. He will not even kill anyone out of pleasure. He will act only out of duty. So for example, that is why Bhagavan told that to Arjuna. So Arjuna has to fight. As a soldier, he has to fight for dharma. In that, he will have to kill people. So if you feel, oh, Arjuna, that you are killing, then obviously the phala will come to you. If you say that I am the Atma, the body is just doing its duty. Then because you are not the one who is acting, the agency of action is not in you, then the karma phala will not touch you. So it is the sense of I am doing, I am the doer of this action. And some people say, yeah, I don't want anything from this. I think it is the Atma. It is not thinking it is the Atma. It is actually feeling that, or not even feeling, knowing and experiencing in that way. Just as we say, this is my hand, you should be able to say, I am the Atma. And the body is merely an appendage that does what it wants, or that is propelled by something else. It is the action lies in the body, not in the Atma. The Atma is not the Karta. Someone who experiences this as clearly as everyone else experiences the opposite, for him, the Karma Phala does not touch.
Okay. I think the exact opposite angle to this question would be that sometimes, even though we do karma properly as per the prescribed standards, the required result or the karma phala is not experienced by the doer. So, what would be the cause for that?
Yeah, so the Nyaya Sutras discuss this. First, Gautama asked the question that the Nyaya Sutras discuss this. So there the Sutrakara says, Tad apramanam. He first puts the Pura Paksha saying, all the Shastra is not a pramana at all, because Anrita, there are some things, it is not true, because I have done what Shastra told me to do, and I have not gotten any fruit. Only the Sambhavana for the Purohita has gone, but I have not obtained whatever I wanted to do this for. Then there is also this punarukti. In many cases in Shastra, things are told again. Obviously, in Shastra, that is a dosha. Saying something twice is not, you should not just keep saying the same thing. If you're saying something, there should be a fruit to it. So punarukti is also there. In this way, there are some aspersions that the Purvapakshi casts on the veracity of Shastra based on exactly this question that you have asked, that we have done Shastra, we have done everything as per Shastra, but we have not gotten the fruit of our actions back. And then he gives the response, na kartra karma sadhana vaigunyat. So the karta, the karma, or the sadhana. So any one of these three, there must be some lopa in one of these. The karta does not either have the adhikara that is necessary to do this, or he has not followed the rules that need to that need to be followed while doing this. The sadhana, the implements of action, there must be some deficiency in those, or the karma, either some part of what he may be fine, and what is done maybe have been done properly, but there is some part of the karma that is not yet finished properly. Even after all of this, if the phala still does not come, we must understand then that there is some strong pratibandhaka, there is some strong karma that is blocking it, that otherwise would have yielded a fruit. Because we see more often than not that these karmas do yield the phala. It is not far-fetched. We see that it does very often yield the phala, a very great deal of the time. That being said, now in Kali Yuga, being as dedicated as most people are in these days, and having as much faith in Shastra as people seem to be having these days, it is obviously now very frequently the case that everything is not done properly and with the utmost shraddha. That is one more thing. Shraddha has to be there. As Bhagavan says, ashraddhaya hutam dattam tapas taptam kritam chayat asadityachyate partha nacha tat pretya no yaha. Whatever tapas is done without shraddha, whatever you eat without shraddha, whatever you do without shraddha, it does not hold it does not generate any fruit. So that shraddha also, because it is the mental component, it is the mental component of the action. So all of this combined generates the fruit. So we must understand that there is some deficiency in these. If even then, even then not generating a fruit is a very rare case. If out of everything I have just told, perfect shraddha, then everything has been done perfectly. This person is also doing everything perfectly. Generally speaking, this is very tough to achieve. So, if even after all of this, the karma phala still has not come, then we must say that it is due to some strong purva karma that is just holding something back. That being said, so obviously 100% perfection is not possible every time. So then what is the point of me even doing this? It is that if not 100%, at least 75%, 80% will be obtained. Mahasannidhanam Varu once told, exactly in this context, Acharya was saying that some people say that we cannot do everything that the Shastras tell. So we'll just leave it. Acharya says, one boy has gone for an exam. He has seen the question paper and he knows that he will not answer every question in that for 100 marks. Does he walk out and give a blank paper? He tries to at least pass the exam. In the same way, yes, we may not be able to do every single thing that the Shastra tells us to do. But there is always this concept of Yatha Shakti. So that concept exists in all cases. So we should be doing our utmost effort, and of course, Ishvara knows what we are doing. So we will get our just fruits. We will get our dues. That is not in doubt.
So it is pertinent for us to do whatever karma we are prescribed to do
as much as possible.
As per our Yatha Shakti. Yeah. Okay. What is the difference between doing karma with desire and without desire?
So, as we said earlier, this is a very quick answer, I guess. Doing karma with desire means that karma will lead to chitta shuddhi. Doing karma without desire means that it gives back a phala and it leads to bondage. So, that is what Bhagavan says in Gita. Because we are talking about karma, Gita will just come up so much. Because Gita exists to tell us how to optimize our karma, both for our life here and for our sadhana. So, Gita is just perfect in doing that, which is why we are seeing Gita so much. Bhagavan says in Gita, Yajñarthat karmanonyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha tadartham karma kaunteya mukta sangas samachara. Yajñarthat karmoyam lokoyam karma bandhanaha. The world is bound by karma. When is it bound by karma? Yajñarthat anyatra. Besides yajna. Here yajna means Vishnu. Bhagavad Pada quotes Yajnave Vishnu is a Vedic statement. So the word yajna here means Vishnu. Vishnu is Ishvara. So besides, when you do the karma without any desire for yourself and as Ishvara Arpana, saying that this karma is offered to Ishvara, namama kind of thing. This is not for me. That is why in every puja we say Parameshwara Prityartham. Right? We do this puja. Before that we will have told one long sankalpa. Ayur Arogya Bhoga Bhagya Ashteshwara Praptirtham Samasta Dusdobashantirtham Samasta Mangalavaptirtham. We tell all of this, and then at the end of the puja we say Krishna Arpanamastu. If we have done all of this, then what is the point of giving it to Krishna? So the thing is that we do it without any desire for the fruit. We do it because we should. We offer it to Krishna means work is worship. That is the sense that Bhagavan through Shastra has told us to do something. We are carrying out his order. So it is up to him to give us the fruit. We don't particularly care. That is the karmanyavadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. You do what you are supposed to. You will anyhow get what you are supposed to get. So you leave that to Bhagavan. When you do karma in that way, that does not bind you, in the sense that it does not lead to more ragadveshas and bondage, but rather it leads to chitta shuddhi. It helps with chitta shuddhi and thereby leads you closer to the jnana marga, wherein you will then be freed from karma in its totality. So that is the difference between wanting to do karma and not doing. That is tadartham karma kaunteya mukta sangha samachara. Without any sangha, without any attachment to the karma or its fruits, do your duty without any of that, is what Krishna told Arjuna, and through Arjuna, us.
Yeah. So, Ji, you said if there is no sense of doership, then you will not be attached to the karma phala. So then how does a Jivan Mukta have or accumulate karma?
Yeah, so a Jivan Mukta does not accumulate karma. So first, what happens during moksha? We said that there are the three types of karma. Prarabdha, Sanchita and Agami. Agami has not yet been accrued. The money is still, the transaction is still processing. So you don't have to worry about that. Sanchita is what is in the account. Prarabdha is what you have with you. Prarabdha is basically karma that has already been set in motion. Right. So that cannot be undone. So through jnana, we say, right, jnana agni sarva karmani bhasmasat kurute Arjuna. The jnana, the fire of jnana reduces the dry wood of the karmas to ashes. So the karmas we mean there are the Sanchita and Agami. Because, so then we say, why does the prarabdha of a Jivan Mukta not go away? See, everything is a karma. It is because the prarabdha of a Jivan Mukta is already set in motion. Sanchita is sitting there accumulated. Agami is yet to accumulate or is in the accumulating stage. Prarabdha is already set in motion. And one more thing is, the karmas that are set in motion are always not so simple. Because the karmas of this person inform the karmas of other people. So someone has to get some phala from the Jivan Mukta. For example, Acharyas, Jagat Gurus are there. They do some anugraha. So that is an interaction. Acharya says something, someone feels something, Acharya does something. So, or Jivan Muktas, they do something, someone else feels something from that. So these interactions with the world are there. If there is no karma, as you said, without prarabdha, the body will not stay. So if those interactions have to happen, which means it is like interlocked with other karmas. So if those all have to happen, this also has to be there. So this doesn't go because it is locked in. Because it is already in place, it is locked in with the karmas of everything else, so it doesn't go. Everything else is reduced to ashes though. But so that is why Bhagavad Pada says in the Viveka Chudamani, prarabdham khalu prarabdham balavattaram. That is why prarabdha is the strongest out of these three karmas. Out of Sanchita, Agami and Prarabdha, Prarabdham balavattaram khalu. Prarabdha is the strongest. Vidam bhogena tasya kshayaha. It will only go after you experience it. Even for Vidam, even for Jñanis. For the other two, vilayaha. सम्यज्ञान हुताशनेन विलयः सम्यज्ञान हुताशनेन विलयः प्राक् संचित आगामिनां. For the Sanchitas and Agamis, with Jnana Hutashanena, with the fire of Jnana, Vilaya for them. But Prarabdha is the strongest because it is set in motion and is attached, it is tied to many other workings of the world. So Ishvara has already arranged these karma phalas and set it off. So they liken it to an arrow that has already been shot. Sanchita is the arrow in the quiver. And Prarabdha is the arrow that has already been shot. You cannot put that arrow back in the quiver. So Prarabdha has to run its course. Now there is one more question. So see, things don't disappear. Right, in our thing, matter is not created or destroyed, all of that is there, right? That applies in our philosophy also. No entity just randomly disappears. So where does this karma go? So the Upanishad tells us, Tasya putra dayam upayanti suhridasadhu krityan dvishantah papa krityam. So for this Jivan Mukta, his relatives and all will get his possessions. This Jivan Mukta had a house, his son will get that, some bank account will be there, they will get that money, all of that will be there. Suhrida sadhu krityam, those who act with the appropriate humility, vinaya, bhakti towards such a Jivan Mukta, they get his punyas. Dvishantah papa krityam, those people who act with ill intent towards those people or who are unfavorable to the Jivan Muktas, they receive all the papa karmas that he has accumulated. So it is doubly important that we be very careful in dealing with Acharya Purushas and Gurus and all. Because we say, right, doing their seva is good for us. It is also for this reason. So the end of the moral of the story is that the Jivan Mukta does not have Sanchita and Agami, but the prarabdha is experienced. So although Bhagavad-pada said this in the Viveka Chudamani, Bhagavad-pada says in Aparoksha Anubhuti that actually Jivan Mukta does not have karma at all. So then we get confused. Bhagavad-pada said this here and that there. So what Bhagavad-pada said there is, he knows he is not the body. The Jivan Mukta knows he is not the body. What is actually experiencing the fruit of the karma? So whatever dukkha is experienced, how does dukkha come in the forms of many things? A roga, for example, some illness. What does the illness come to? The body. What experiences the sorrow of the illness? The mind. The Jnani is not any of that. He's the Atma. So does the Atma have Sanchita Prarabdha or Agami? It does not. So the Jivan Mukta actually does not have any karma at all. But from the Laukika standpoint also, the Jivan Mukta does not have Sanchita and Agami. Prarabdha it seems to be there. In Shastra, this is called the Dagdha Patanyaya. So you lay out a cloth on the ground, you light a match and you burn it. The ash will remain in the same shape of the cloth. So it will look like the cloth is still there in the same form, but it is actually gone. It is now ash. So for the Jivan Mukta, the Prarabdha and the way it works on the body is akin to that, in the sense that, yeah, we see the Jivan Mukta's body still there. We see the body still experiencing some sukhas and dukkhas. See, it is not like if the Jivan Mukta touches fire, it is not hot for him and it doesn't pain the body. The fire is still hot, ice is still cold. But it is touching the body, it is not touching the Jivan Mukta who is residing as Atma. So for the Ajnani who is an observer, the Jivan Mukta does not have Sanchita and Agami also, but he will still appear to have Prarabdha because, as we said, all of the samsari's karmas are still tied into that. So we still see that, we still see the interactions with the body and all of that. So it seems that he has Prarabdha to an onlooker, but for the Atma, which the Jivan Mukta is, there is no more attachment.
Okay. So if Prarabdha is so strong, then
that even a Jivan Mukta's body has to undergo it.
Experiencing, yeah. Then where is the place for free will in the system? How does how does a human being apply his intellect in his daily activities?
So this fate versus free will is a question that all philosophies and all religions have dealt with. The concept of predestination, even in the Christian systems, also has been a topic of debate for a long time. Are you destined to go to heaven or hell, or does what you do here actually matter, or any of that? So obviously that is a question that has to be answered. We know what free will is. It is our decision to act. So first we have to define what fate is. Fate is not some man in the sky raining down orders upon what should happen to us. You see in the Yoga Vasishta that the definition of this is given. Yadeva tivra samvega dridham karma pura kritam tadeva daiva shabdena paryayeneha kathyate. So whatever karma we have done in the past, the force of the karma that we have accumulated in the past, that is what we call fate, daiva. Daiva, which is another word for fate. Daivam, Dishtam, Bhagadeyam, all of these are words for fate in Sanskrita. Bhagyam, Niyatihi, Vidhihi, all of these are words for fate. So the fate is nothing more than the karma that we have done in the past. So fate and free will are actually not at all opposed to each other. Fate is what happens to us. Free will is what we do. These two things are completely separate. What happens to us is not what we do. We choose to act. Something, whether a breeze blows, you feel something nice. That is different from, do you turn on the fan so that the breeze comes? That is separate. You choose to act, something will happen to you. Because karma is there, whatever happens to you is anyhow, whatever is supposed to happen to you will anyhow happen to you. Free will is how you choose to act now. That will then affect the future. And the Yoga Vasishta gives an example of a roga. So because of what you have done in the past, you have got an illness now. You can choose to take a medicine now such that the roga does not affect you in the future. It is that simple. So fate and free will are not at all juxtaposed because they are two separate entities. It is what has happened or what will happen to you and what you do. One thing you can choose to act, and what happens to you, there is nothing that you actually have to do. The Yoga Vasishta is very clear. Then we say one more thing. So something is supposed to happen to me. I am doing something so that something will happen to me. There is a conflict. I want to obtain some sukha, so I do something. But do I have the yoga for that sukha to come to me or not? That is also one thing. So here also there are two cases. One is a case where the sukha that you are supposed to be getting now is a sukha that is being generated. It is not a sukha that is accounted for by your previous karmas. For example, you see in the Puranas, right? Some couple will be cursed that they should not have children. So if they try for children, the curse that they should not have children will be holding them back.
Correct.
So this is the case in which we get the virodha. There will be some case in that the shapa is that they will not have children. This fellow wants a job. There is no virodha there. So now the fate versus free will comes when there is some previous karma that dictates what you will experience. You want some particular experience, then what happens? So actually the Jagadguru, Jyeshta Mahasannidhanam Varu, has given a nice example that there is a nail in the wall. You have given, it has been hammered into the wall. You do not know how many hammer strokes it took to press it into the wall. So you do not know how hard you have to pull to get the nail out of the wall. That does not mean that you stop pulling. You have to at least try to pull. If then you can't pull at all and it doesn't come, then you have to accept that it has been driven in too far. But if you can pull it out, you will not know if you can pull it out unless you try. Right? So first of all, it is that even if something is predestined, you still must act. Most things are not predestined. But even if it is predestined, you still have to act. And one more thing is there that even if something is predestined, many a time it will be the general concept that is predestined. So there is one thing that tells us in Shastra, Ayuh karmacha vittancha vidya nidhanamevacha panchayatani hi srijyante garbhasthasya eva dehinaha. While the jiva is still in the garbha, 5 things are set. His ayushya, his karma, what he will do as a profession in life. Profession means not that he will work in Oracle or he will work in IBM or something. Just generally, is he going to be an intellectual worker or is he going to do something else? Will he rule? Will he serve? What will he do? So with ayuh karmacha vittancha, will he be rich? Will he be poor? Vidya, will he be educated, ill-educated? Nidhanamevacha, when will he die, how will he die? Panchayatani srijyante garbhasthasya dehana. These 5 things will be decided while he is still in the womb itself. So he is born with these 5 things. But the prakara is not decided. So for example, what he does, a general thing would have been there. It will not say, for example, he will be in public service. It will not say whether he will be PM, CM or the district collector. And that is not there. One more thing is that through hard work and through great karma, these can be changed. One more thing that Shastra tells us is tribhir varshaihi, tribhir masaihi, tribhir pakshais, tribhir dinaihi, atyutkataiv punya papai ihaiva phalamashnuте. So great and very intense punyas and intense papas. So right, for example, punyas, you have given away an entire samrajya to someone. That is obviously a very great punya. So a great papa, you have massacred everything that Aurangzeb and all those people did. Right, you have massacred thousands of innocent people and all of that. You have destroyed temples and whatnot, on. Such great papas and or great punyas have been done. With those, tribhir varshaihi, within 3 years, tribhir masaihi, within 3 months, tribhir pakshaihi, within 3 pakshas, 3 fortnights, tribhir dinaihi, within 3 days, atyutkataiv punya papaihi, intense punyas and papas, ihaiva phalamashnutte, you will get that the fruit of that here and now. So basically what this is intense punya and papas add to your prarabdha. Prarabdha is what should be experienced by this body in this janma. Intense punya and papa can add to the prarabdha and change the prarabdha. So, that is why the entire concept of earlier Prāyaścitta, that is why it works. See, if Prāyaścitta doesn't affect us in this life, then what is the point of Prāyaścitta? So, it is because karma does have the effect to interface with our prarabdha that we even do some things. So, first of all, we must act. Then what happens, there also Yoga Vasishtha says, Dvau hudaviva yudhyete. So that is to say, like 2 rams. If you see 2 rams, they butt heads. Dvau hudaviva yudhyete purusharthau samasamo praktanaschaihaschaiva tatra shamyatyatra alpa viryavan. The alpa viryavan, whichever is weaker of the 2, tat shamyati, that will retreat. Just how the 2 rams, they collide. If you see how they actually do it, the 2 rams collide. They stagger back a bit. Then the one that has lost goes away. So in the same way, the prarabdha, praktanaha, so whatever experiences have been destined by our own karma of the past, then aihikaha, the karma that we are doing now, whatever we want to experience now, these 2 collide. The stronger one will prevail. And one more thing, as I said, even there, let us say that the fate prevails. Even then, it is still our free will that has won. Because that is the result of our free will of the past. We have chosen to act in the past. It is the result of that action that is obstructing us. So actually we see even that these shapas and varas that are given in Puranas and all, they are not mere, they are not top-ups. They are the declaration of what will happen for what they have done. Someone does an apachara towards a rishi. That rishi, we immediately curse him. It is not that the rishi has gotten very angry, he feels that his ego has been hurt, so he is pronouncing something. It is that there is a sin that comes with disrespecting a Mahatma. That sin is given voice as the shapa.
Right.
So in the same way, Vara, you have done upasana or you have done tapas for a devata. The fruit of that comes as the Vara. That is why people say that Shiva keeps giving Varas to Rakshasas. He doesn't have a choice. It is self, this concept of self-manifestation is there, right, these days. That is exactly what it is. Whatever you do is what you get. So that is exactly what self-manifestation is. So the Rakshasas have done some tapas for which they have to be given some phala. The phala of their tapas is just vocalized by Shiva. It is not that Shiva is like, I don't care whether he is good or bad, I will give him a vara because I feel like it. Even to a punyatma, Shiva cannot do that. Even to a punyatma, Shiva can only give him the fruit. Shiva or Vishnu or Devi, whoever appears in front of him, they can only give the fruit of whatever he has accumulated for himself. So let us say even that our efforts are not enough to overcome fate. Even then it is our efforts that have prevailed, because fate is the result of our efforts of the past. So what happens to us, anything can happen to us, but we choose how to act. It is up to us how we choose to act now. So it is up to us to act in a conscientious manner. It is up to us to act. There is nothing that will make you act in a dharmic way. Fate will never force you to act in a certain way. You are choosing how to act. So you have to take that into account, and obviously our system, the law of karma, dictates that you take ownership of those actions. Ishvara will give you that karma phala regardless of whether you want it or not. So when it comes to fate and free will is certainly the greater of the two. First of all, because you can act to overcome fate. We see that in Shankaracharya's story. So Acharya's Ayushya by birth was 8 years. If you see in the Shankara Digvijaya, Vyasa Maharshi tells Bhagavad Pada that your Ayushya, so after Bhagavad Pada talks with Vyasa Maharshi in Kashi, Vyasa Maharshi comes in the guise of an old Brahmana. They discuss the Brahma Sutras. Then Vyasa Maharshi shows himself to Bhagavad Pada. Bhagavad Pada had, so Ashtavarshe Chaturvedi, by age 8. 4 Vedas done. Dvadashe Sarva Shastravit. By the 12th year 12, done with all the Shastras. Shodashe Kritavan Bhashyam. By age 16, the Bhashyas are done. So, Bhagavad Pada had finished all the Bhashyas by 16. So, that is why at age 16, this debate with on the Brahma Sutra Bhashya with Vyasa Maharshi, this discussion with Vyasa Maharshi had happened. So, then Vyasa Maharshi reveals himself to Bhagavad Pada. And Bhagavad Pada then says, I am done. I know my 16 years are up. So if you just wait here, it is Kashi, the presence of a Mahatma such as you. This is the Manikarnika Ghat. Just wait here, I leave my body. Vyasa Maharshi says, wait for a second, hold on. That is not what is supposed to happen. Your Ayushya, Bhagavad Pada, Vyasa Maharshi says this, verbatim this is there in the Shankara Digvijaya, that by Ayushya, by birth your Ayushya was 8 years. You earned 8 more years for yourself by virtue of your tapas, your sadhana and all of that. So the practice of pranayama lengthens the life span. In the same way, Nityam Vruddhopasevinaha. If those people who do Vruddha Seva, for that Vittam, the Ayushya, Vriddhi happens by serving the elderly, the Jyeshthas and all. So there are things that lengthen the Ayushya. So you, by birth you had 8 years. You earned 8 more years for yourself through your Anushtana. So your 16 years are up now. But now I am giving you 16 more years. To then Dvatrimshe Munirabhyaka. That is why the 4th line of the shloka exists. Otherwise the shloka would only have been 3 lines. Shodashe Kritavan Bhashyam, end of shloka, end of Shankara Digvijaya. But the Digvijaya has to happen. Bhagavad Pada has to go, quell all the Avaidika matas, establish Sanatana Dharma, show Sanatana Dharma, show the truth, purport of Vedanta, put these 4 pithas so that we still have Dharma to this day. All of that has to happen. So I am giving you 16 more years. So we see that obviously this does change. So you can even alter your prarabdha or add to your prarabdha through proper action, through karma. How to act and all, Bhagavan has told in Gita, our Shastras have told us, Vedas have told us, Smritis have told us, our elders have told us, all of that is there. So it is our free will, it is through our free will, because we do have free will, that we have to act in a certain way. We have to act now so that our fate will be good in the future. to sum it up.
Great. I think that's the purpose of having a free will. It is pertinent for human beings as a species who have such high intellect that we need to act now and in the right manner so that we have some portion of the prarabdha that can be manipulated with the good work that we do. So I think, Lalitaditya ji, that brings us to our last question of the session, which, as you mentioned earlier, this is about the law of manifestation, and that has been trending these days. So everybody is of the opinion that what we think of can be manifested in the universe. So as per our Sanatana Dharma, is that a concept that is existent and available to human beings? If so, how does that work with the karma phalas?
So as is the case with Sanatana Dharma, we'll finish this on a very Vedantic note. This entire universe has been manifested by the Jiva. Forget about what this person wants in this life. The fact that this universe exists is self-manifestation. The first person to ever self-manifest was Ishvara when he decided to create the universe. Right? So he wanted this universe to come, and it happened. And they say, Ichha matram prabho srishtihi. He desires, it happens. It is a sankalpa. His sankalpa, Paramatma sankalpa is what happens. And of course, knowing, as we do in Advaita, that the Jivatma is just Ishvara in a limited it is not Ishvara, it is the Shuddha Atma in a limited capacity. The unlimited Atma, when it works with Maya, is Ishvara. That same Shuddha Atma, limited by the capacity of the body and the mind, is called the Jiva. So there is one Paksha of Advaita, that is, it is the Paksha that is meant for the Uttamahikari. So people who have the most Chitta Shuddhi, the most clarity of thought, the most capability to understand very high philosophical concepts without taking it the wrong way. So for those people, there is one concept that has been told called Drishti Srishtivada. So it is basically what you see, you yourself have created. So it is basically that I see this, I have just created that. This, whatever I've seen before has gone. I turn back, whatever I see now, I have just created that. That has gone. And it has gone in the sense that obviously if I'm not perceiving it, it is not there in my world. We can understand it in that way. But in a higher sense, it is that whatever we empirically observe is there for the time being. Right? That is what we mean by mithya. Mithya is not something that doesn't exist. It is something that appears to exist temporarily. That is what we mean by mithya. It is not that it's something that doesn't exist. So when a common thing is if everything is mithya, then how can you interact with the world? Mithya does not mean something that doesn't exist. It is something that temporarily exists. It is the vritti matra sattvam. It exists as long as it is perceived. That is what we mean. So that is actually the beauty. In the Drishti Srishtivada, there is only one jiva. He is in this body. All the other bodies that we see are actually nirjiva.
Wow.
There is only one jiva. So for me, that is my jiva. And I just see this entire world. So yourself included, our viewers included, everyone else is not a separate jiva. And for us, this seems very strange or sometimes even comic. But this is what happens to us every night. We go to sleep. We dream. In that dream, we see our parents, we see our friends, we see animals. There is no... See, the dreamer actually has a Chaitanya. The dreamer is a conscious entity that is dreaming. Does the dream elephant have a consciousness of its own? Do the dream parents have a consciousness of their own? But yet we interact with them. And in the dream, the dreamer does not know that it is his own sankalpa that is acting as those characters of the dream. Right? If a tiger is chasing us in a dream, we don't know that, I'm only telling the tiger to chase me. That is not, we are terrified and you run because you view the tiger as separate. In the same way, the jiva also, in the Vyavaharika Prapancha also, it is the jiva who alone experiences all of this as a dream. That is why Bhagavad Pada tells us in the Nrsimha Pancharatna, Tava hitam ekam vachanam vakshe. I will tell you one thing that is good for you. If you can understand it, that is all that you need. So here it's the point is that this is not for everyone to understand. The layman cannot understand this and should not act based off of this because they will not understand it properly. But what is a swapne drishtam sakalam hi mrisha? Everything you see in a swapna is mithya. In the sense that the dream exists, you interact in the dream. The experience of the dream are very real as long as you are dreaming. Right? Once you wake up, obviously, then you say that this dream is not real. But as long as you are in that dream, that experience is very real. You do see trees, you do feel the breeze, you do like things, you do dislike things, you do all of that. You choose to act in the dream also. So all of that is there. So all of this is there, as long as you dream. The second the dream ends, obviously all of that goes. Jagrati cha smara tadvaditi. Remember that the same applies to the Laukika Prapancha. As long as Ajnana is there, all these interactions persist. Once Ajnana goes, you realize that you are the Shuddha Atma. Then, as you said earlier, you are a Jivan Mukta. And then all of this is just, you can view it as a dream. So there are actually some dreams where we know we are dreaming. There are some dreams where we are part of the cast. There are some dreams where the director is part of the cast. It is kind of like that. So some dreams where we know we are dreaming, if you notice, we are much more calm in those dreams. We're like, I know it's a dream, but let me just see what happens, kind of a thing. There are some things where you don't know you are in a dream, and as long as that is there, you are still persisting. So the Jivan Mukta knows that all of this is just for the time being. It is there because of my prarabdha. As long as karmas are there, all of this will be there. If karma goes, none of this will continue to persist. So in that sense, the jiva has actually self-manifested this entire jagat. In the very high Vedantic sense. Okay, now to come to the normal sense. Self-manifestation is just that whatever you want, if you put your mind to it and act accordingly, of course you can achieve. That is what we have discussed in Fate versus Free Will. So when the sankalpa has to be strong. If the sankalpa is strong and you act accordingly, that will happen. That is why we have the concept of blessing and cursing. In forget about Shastra, in our local thing, right? Why when we have some Shubhakarya, some marriage or some Upanayan or some function is there, we ensure that everyone is happy. We don't want anyone to go away from there dissatisfied, because we feel that if anyone goes out with a dissatisfied heart and says, "Che, they have not taken care of me properly," and with a pure heart, if they wish ill of us, that will happen. With a pure heart, if they wish well for us, that will happen. This again happens because that wishing and not wishing is based on our karmas. If we have acted nicely to them, obviously they will wish well for us. If we have acted improperly with them, obviously the result of that is them wishing ill for us, and thereby dukkha. We have acted well with them, but yet their mind is so crooked that they wish ill of us. Then some purva karma is there for which we have to experience dukkha. This just ends up being a conduit for that. So in that way, this does exist. This self-manifestation is there, but in the big picture, this entire prapancha is self-manifested by. We should not say the jiva, because the jiva is not sarvajna sarvashakta, by the atma. This entire cosmos, everything that we see, is self-manifested by the atma. So just as that is why the likeness is given to help us understand this, that just as we sleep and we dream up an entire cosmos, Vishnu sleeps, Paramatma, as Vishnu sleeps on that Sheshashaya and dreams up this entire world. So in that sense, this entire cosmos is a manifestation of the Atma Padartha, of Paramatma.
Okay. Thank you so much, Lalitaditya ji. I think this has been a very insightful session, and I'm sure all our viewers have had their questions on karma answered by our very highly scholarly person sitting here. Thank you so much for your time. We'll see you in the next episode. Namaste.